there is another thing that I want to show you, and it's how we could use like text, how we could make sort of a little program that has text and it changes what's shown based on maybe clicking buttons or something, right? So instead of a painting app, maybe instead it's an app that shows information about space or nature or your favorite, I don't know, musician or whatever. So instead of changing the value of the stroke, I'm going to make a new variable. I'm going to call it current states. And I'm going to make this equal to 1. Make this equal to 2 for this. Alright. Going to delete that. And up here, I'm going to do let current state equal 0. Alright. So let is a way to make a variable. You could also use var. Let is the newer way that is preferred and recommended. So let current state equals 0. Here it's 1. Here it's 2. Alright, so if I run this, we're not drawing anymore. We see nothing happening there, but let's check if it's working. So here I'm going to say that console.log. Is that what it is in JavaScript? Maybe it's just print. It might just be print. Well, we'll try it. Print whatever the current state is. Alright, so it's 2. Now it's 1. Now it's 2. Okay. So it is at the very start detecting where my mouse is, and it's already reading that it's above here. So maybe I should have more conditionals, but whatever. Okay. So what I can do here is I can also look up text. All right, so p5js text. And we could write some text here. All right. So we have text, and it says hi. All right, now what we could do is we could actually have a condition in here where it changes what the text says depending on what state this is in. And so state is a pretty big computer concept. State machines are a fairly big computer concept. Most video games work this way. A lot of other applications work this way as well. The idea is that you have a certain state that can be changed depending on what's happening, right? Depending on some sort of input or process happening in the program or whatever, right? So if the button's pressed, it changes from off to on. If it's pressed again, it changes from on to off, right? That's super simple, right? But you have all these other states too, right? A game over state, a game running state, a game paused state. If you're thinking about maybe a game that has some sort of combat, there might be a state where an enemy behaves one way if they have lots of life, and maybe they behave differently if they have low life, right? Maybe they try to heal or hide or run away. If you're thinking about like an RPG, you might have states where like maybe the player can be poisoned, or can be paralyzed, or can be maybe they have some sort of regenerative state. Maybe they have some sort of state where they're powered up, or they have higher defenses, or whatever, right? So there's all these different states that a player or enemy or scenario or setting or whatever can be in, and based on that state, something changes, right? The way that the program behaves, the way that the programming does things changes based on that state. So to do that, you need a conditional, you need conditionals that respond to whatever value is stored in a variable, right? So instead of just saying hi, I could say that if current state is equal to 0, then it's going to do hi. And this needs to be in parentheses. And then we say hi right here. And what we could also do is we could say that else, well, yeah, let's just do this. So we print this. It's not in 0 because, I mean, it started in 0, but then it determined that my mouse was way up here somewhere, and so we don't see the hi, right? We can do else ifs, right? And we can have additional conditions. So if current state is equal to 1, hey, else if current state is equal to 2, hello. Alright, so we have hey, and it's not changing. Oh, these should be double equal signs. Right, that actually checks. Otherwise we're assigning it. So we have hello, and we're getting weirdness in there, right? And that's because the background is being defined in the setup. So if we want this to work the way that we would expect, we need to have the background here, so that way it actually removes whatever was previously there and is only showing what should be there based on the current state. Right, so we have hello, we have hey, hello, right? And so that's how you could create some sort of application where the content changes based on the user clicking buttons, moving their mouse over buttons, or whatever. We can also tie this to elements on an HTML page, but we can do it all just with the p5js canvas as well. There's different ways to do this, and so we'll talk more about that later, but I wanted you to kind of see how that works. Now, you can also include images in p5js, as you would expect, as you also saw with my little art program. And there's a variety of ways to do this. It's not that hard, but it takes a little getting used to. If you are going to try an image, make sure that you do it here online, because the images won't work when you're not running it through like a web server or something. The reason why I showed you on GitHub my old art project that I was doing with this, and not directly on my computer itself, is because if I try to load it from the computer itself, it won't actually display anything. They made it so that if you're running it locally and not from a server, a lot of those things won't work. So if I try to run this here, you can see nothing is happening, but it's literally all the exact same files that you saw on my GitHub. So it can be nice to often run things locally, so that way you don't have to like deal with an online editor or being online or all of this. But if you're using images, they won't work, right? So they work anywhere online, including the editor, including GitHub. They don't work when you try to do it locally, and that's just the way that they set things up with p5js. So you could also do a lot of the same stuff with the Python version of processing, or the Java version of processing. The reason why I'm recommending p5js is because you can do everything in a browser, and so you can create little web apps that way for other people, and also because JavaScript can talk very easily with HTML, which then means that p5js can talk very easily with HTML, and that gives you a whole another range of options. So do you have to use p5js for your IA? No, of course you don't have to, but you should consider it because it could be very useful.